What's happening? What's happening, y'all? How y'all doing? Another version of funk from the front seat. Sorry, we're a little bit behind, but you know how it is sometimes with technology. Today, I have the wonderful, straight from New Orleans. I have my friend, my good friend, Dr. Tawana Anthony. She's going to be kind enough to sit in with us today and hang out. So I had to wear my New Orleans beads and get into my NOLA mode. And we're going to kick this funk from the front seat, coming to you live, ibm.tv. How y'all doing today? I'm your host, number 9. What's up?
Deep sleep and breathe.
Hi.
How you doing, Doctor? How is everything?
I'm good. One correction. I'm from Louisiana, but not from New Orleans. I'm actually from Natchitoches, Louisiana.
Okay. That's good to know. Thank you for letting me know that. I have a hard time keeping track of where people are and everything, but I'm so grateful that first of all you're okay. You're looking lovely and beautiful as ever. You've
Thank
always
you.
been very kind to me, and I really, really appreciate that. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties, but I was having a lot of trouble here signing on in North Carolina lately, especially in this area. All of our technology is all screwed up. You go to the grocery store, your swipe cards don't work. At the gas station, some of the gas stations, the technology doesn't work. It's just all weird. In my own apartment, my laptop freezes on and off. So I don't really know what's going on. But once again, I apologize. And I'm grateful to you for hanging out with us. So tell us about, what's actually, before we address some of the elephants in the room that we're going to get into today. Tell us about some of the things that are going on that you see in the world today relating to the politics, because I want to get on that right away. First of all, you can tell us a little bit about yourself in a minute, but just what you see, how it's affected New Orleans.
In a minute.
In a minute.
Well, in terms of the politics, I think it's a mess. I don't think, based off of historical views, I don't think it's operating as it should. I think there should be more accountability and more transparency. And for me, I'm just not seeing that. And I think there's a lot of corruption going on and a lot of cover up. So for me, in the new administration, we need to have more transparency and more accountability.
Yes, I agree with you. I think that because of your vast background, you have a unique insight because you're, highly well educated and, authored, and, you've done so many great things. When I met you up in DC in that community, and I know you go back and forth and your family's down in Louisiana. So how is your family and your friends, and how is everybody down there?
Everyone here is well. We're all practicing social distancing. We're all trying to stay safe. We only go out if we have to. But in terms of like the community, for me, the community is a little crazy. I actually went to this morning a graduation, and it was really crazy because the school system had put out the social distancing rules, social distancing guidelines, and people just totally ignored what was being stated, and how they're supposed to follow the social distancing. And then we actually exchanged words with people, and I'm gonna use the N word. I was called a nigger today.
Yeah.
Not by, but hold up, not by a white person, but by a person of color, because we asked the people not to sit in the area where they sat. And so they basically tried to flip the script and say, oh, you're acting like a nigger. But what does a nigger act like? You know what I'm saying? I was like, I'm not acting like anything. I'm asking you to social distance and, provide space when, that's the rules and that's the guidelines. Oh, we're not adhering to that. We're not doing that. We're not doing anything. So I'm just like, you get angry at me because I asked you to social distance. And I'm like, I'm not trying to catch COVID-19 because you're being careless and you're not, following the rules and you're not doing what you're supposed to do. So I actually eventually just left, and I was like, I told my cousin I would meet up with them after, the graduation, because I didn't want to be in, that crowd, and I didn't want to run the risk of, contracting COVID-19 because people are not
Exactly.
following social distancing rules.
Exactly. Exactly. I don't blame you because, right now, I mean, I just want what I'm asking is critical thinking from people. I live in a pretty decent populated area down here in Durham, and it's the same thing you just said. I'm like, listen, it's not about you or me or Democrat, Republican. This is a virus. And at some point I'm going to have to trust the smart people. You know what I mean? The people that, like yourself, that actually are doing the right thing. And I don't blame you. I would have been angry and pissed off and upset too, because they don't have a right to put you or your family in jeopardy simply because we all have to adhere to some changes. That's part of life, you know? And I don't blame you for getting angry. And I got your back on that because I don't think people are really understanding how it's going to affect us long term, the short
No.
term thing. And you and I talked about this a lot, when we were hanging out up at DC and after your show. And again, we're with, Dr. Tawana Anthony, and she's one of my good friends here on ibm.tv on Funk from the Front Seat. You and I talked about this for a long time about how we need to make change. And I got to give you a lot of credit because, number one, you're an educator. You mold young minds. I've seen what you do. I follow you all the time. And you're an amazing Black woman in this culture of chaos. And I just want to thank you. And please continue to do all the great things that you do. And because we need you. And I told you that when I met you. I said, listen, we need you, And when people act like that and force you to leave something you shouldn't have left, the ignorance is on them. You know what I mean? Because
yeah, true. But at the same time, it's about following those rules and those guidelines. And the 45 has, called this a Democratic hoax. We see that it's not a hoax. You know what I'm saying? We see that this is very serious. And when they first came out with it, I knew it was very serious. But people are not taking it serious. They're not, following the social distancing, following the social distancing guidelines. They're not doing any of that stuff. And then you get angry with the people who are following those rules. And, you're not wearing masks. You don't have hand sanitizer. You don't have disinfectant. Because we had the whole shebang, hand sanitizer. We had Clorox wipes. We wiped the seats off, everything. And, for someone to just come in and infringe upon your space, as if you don't want them to sit there. It's not that I don't want you to sit here, but, we're following the social distancing guidelines and we're following those rules. And you get ignorant with me because, I am listening to the guidelines and following those rules. And then, because, what angers me the most is we're in an area that has, a high population of COVID-19 victims and casualties. Louisiana is one of those hot states, but I don't want to be a victim and I don't want to become a statistic, all because you wanted to be careless and you wanted to be reckless and you didn't want to follow the social distancing guidelines. So that was, that was a key takeaway for me, with, people going into, large crowds and not adhering to the rules. So I have to do what I have to do to protect myself. I live with 2 elderly people down here. And, when I visit my dad, I also have 2 elderly people over there. So I have to be cognizant of who I'm around. And, if they're practicing social distancing and if they're, adhering to the rules. So if you're not doing it, then I can't afford to put myself in that space. I have to remove myself out of the equation because you're being reckless.
That's right. That's right. And, you did the right thing only because you can't, we can't. And as much as I hate to say this, Doctor, but I have to, and me with the music and, we both have the same vision and goals in mind when it comes to people, human beings in general, and most specifically our community as Black people, Black Americans. It's like I've tried because I've had to tell people, and I drive Uber, right? And I've had to tell people, listen, you can't get in my car, right? They slam my door, they curse me out, they get mad at me, and I'm like, but number one, I'm trying to keep myself and my kids safe, and number two, you don't know who was in my car, even though I keep it clean before you. but you're still going to be mad, try to destroy my own property, and I'm here to give you a ride because you won't cover your face and you know the rules. If we had to wind the clock back a little bit and maybe, and you can tell me your opinion on this, had kept some of the CDC guidelines in place that our previous predecessor president had in place, do you think we would be at this point?
To be honest with you, I don't think we'll be at this point. I think we're being governed by a level of ignorance. When a person is throwing a pity party or a temper tantrum because someone criticized them, that says a lot about that person. We all go through life with critics, and we all go through life with, receiving constructive feedback. But when you're a person who doesn't accept constructive feedback, then there is a problem. And so to say that there's no problem and not accept responsibility, that herein lies the problem. So I think if, a lot of things were kept in place, we wouldn't be at the place where we are now. If the pandemic team would have been there like it was prior to, we wouldn't be at this place. If he would have shut the borders down early on when he first received the warnings, we wouldn't be in this place. But it's like, everything is a deliberate attempt to break America. And that's where, I have a problem with the lack of, democracy and the lack of respect for the Constitution and the laws of the land. No one is above the law. So to say that you are, that's a problem. And for you to deliberately kill American people, that's a problem. And that's what has taken place, is the death of American people is on his hands, because he didn't act, and he still is not acting and responding in the way that the leadership should be responding, because people are still out there doing craziness, not wearing masks. Oh, it's a hoax. We don't think it's real, not taking it serious. But on the other hand, you want the world to reopen. You want to put teachers and other educators at harm's way because you're trying to force people to open schools. When we have an uptick in the amount of people who are contracting the coronavirus. I was just reading and listening to the news the other day. Texas has people dying every 15 minutes from the coronavirus, and that is serious. So my thing is, you need to take responsibility and put things in place, because right now it's like free fall. Nothing to me is in place, and it's just spiraling out of control.
That's right. And you make a very good point, because you are an educator, and I'm gonna get to that in a second too. And when we have leadership that obviously, to me, he's not even thinking about winning, losing, nothing. His whole thing was the money grab. He's from my hometown in Queens, so we always knew what he was about. We wouldn't have elected that man for even dog catcher in New York. That's why he never ran for anything there. And his exploitation, like you said, of the land, the law of the land, and the exploitation of people, no matter what color, mostly, the poor people and the people of limited means with healthcare, medication, education. I agree with you 100%. My daughter's mom and I spoke, and we're like, I don't care what North Carolina does. You're going to have to go to online school until we get this figured out. We're not trusting all of that. And you being on the front lines when school starts, I'm sure you're going to have a really good idea of the input that you want to let people know down there or wherever, if you're going to be in DC, about how you feel as a teacher. You know what I mean? So give us a little bit of background about yourself and some of your educational things.
Well, I've been an educator for over 20 years. As Zach said, I'm an author. I do have another 2 books that's about to come out shortly.
So we're going to get into that.
And my first book is called At the Gator Park. It's a cute little story. I have a BA in social work, master's degree in administration, educational technology, minor in administration, PhD in educational leadership and counseling, and I also work in mental health. So I do have patient services after the day job.
Yeah.
But to hit up on the education standpoint, I don't foresee myself going back into the classroom. For the simple reason is I'm one of those persons that have a compromised immune system. I have severe allergies, and just the least little something can cause me to have, break out in hives and go into an attack mode or whatever. So I don't plan to physically go back into the classroom because I know for a fact that people send people send their children to school sick. So how can
Yeah.
you guarantee me that you're not going to send your child to school with COVID-19 because
Yep.
you went out and worked and you got it, maybe you got it, you infected your child, you send your child to school. So how can you assure me that I won't get infected with COVID-19 and through the transmission of your child? So there's no guarantee that anybody can say that. So for me,
Yep.
I can't put myself in harm's way to, be back in the school system with 30 little people who are coming from, different families, different backgrounds, wherever, and just one me. So for me,
Yeah.
I will not be going back into the classroom. Everything
Yeah.
that I do
I
will
don't
be
blame you.
online.
Yeah, I don't blame you because right now we're getting nothing but the lies and bills and lies. Okay, buys, no compromise with this guy, and I don't see why anybody would want to send their child into an environment that is, you know, unstable
Well, a lot of
and
people, that's true, but a lot of people feel like that they need a break,
yeah, they do.
and
Yeah,
they're realizing that teaching is not a facade anymore because they thought teachers
no,
really didn't work hard, they
that's
wasn't doing
right.
their job. But when you're managing 30 to 35 little people, different personalities in one classroom, and you're managing all that, but the parents
Yep,
only have their little people at home, but we have all of their little people, and the classrooms right now are overcrowded. So how can you practice social distancing with the overcrowded school, overcrowded, classrooms, overcrowded everything, except for virtual learning? Because
that's
for
right.
me, I don't foresee it happening unless certain kids go to schools on certain days, and maybe they go one day out the week, or something like that. But for the most part, it's not going to happen when we knew that some classrooms have 45 to 50 kids.
Yeah,
So
that's
how
right.
can you practice social distancing?
That's right. And it's funny you mentioned that because here in North Carolina, in Durham, where I live at, they have the school lunch programs, right? As they do everywhere. And a lot of the parents that work two jobs or single parents or what have you, moms and dads, they rely on those 2 meals a day. And I know during the summer here, they've been actually bringing the buses with meals to certain spots, which the governor, I got to give him credit on this, just to feed those families for those 2 meals because they didn't want to break that routine. Even with the summer schools, they were doing it. And I know, like you mentioned, you can't stop kids from being kids, touching, socializing. And they would talk. And I went to one of the virtual meetings here. And my suggestion was, okay, you have, like you said, a group of kids go on Mondays and Tuesdays. My theory was, and what I said is shut the school down completely on Wednesday, even though let them go online and clean 24 hours. Then you have another group of kids go on Thursday and Friday. This way the kids still get 5 days, but they're only physically in the school for 2, and then the other, they would be online for 3. And I picked up some teachers and they were, I dropped them off and I was like, why are you going to school now? And the teachers here have been mandated to go in and clean the school. And I was like, you shouldn't be doing that. You don't have no hazmat suit, no nothing. And they were all up in arms about it. Are they making the teachers down there do similar things?
The only thing that we were asked to do, we were asked to go in and remove our personal items, and that was it. But even with with that, um, to me, the schools wasn't really being properly cleaned anyway. So I mean, even if you do have the kids go back into the schools, how can you guarantee that the school is going to be properly clean?
Yep.
A lot of times, what people fail to realize is teachers provide a lot of things for the schools. We're not given anything. Teachers purchase, supplies, purchase a lot of things for the kids out of their own
Yep.
pocket. So I
Yep.
know a couple of times we didn't have soap for the kids to wash their hands. So how can you guarantee me that you're going to provide Kleenex or whatever, Germex, soap, and disinfectant to clean the school. You can't
Yeah.
guarantee me that when you didn't even have soap to begin with in the first place. So
Yeah.
I mean,
You
it's
brought
a
up
lot of
no, go ahead.
No, I was saying, so it's a lot of thought that has to go into planning to reopen the schools. Are they going to provide us with PPEs? Are they going to give us, hazardous pay? Are they going to do any of that stuff? And then I've also read where some of the school districts right here in Louisiana, the governor has made it where parents can't sue the schools if their child contracts COVID-19 at school. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you're like in a no-win situation. You want us to go back into the schools, but you're not providing us with any protection when we get there. So what are we supposed to do?
That's right. I'm so glad you brought that up because educators, teachers are vastly underpaid, and they forget that you guys are frontliners too. Like you said, children come in sick. You have to deal with all the personalities, and I am totally deplored. And my children, they have educators on their side of the family. As we talk, their grandmother's a teacher, their aunt is a teacher, their uncle is a teacher in Florida. And I don't for the life of me understand how come teachers, and I've done this, brought in supplies for the school. The teachers come out of pocket, and they have a salary that's not that great to begin with. That's why teachers, I tip my hat to you, doctor, because you guys see it. You're putting something in someone's mind that's going to go change the world 20 years later. You should be on the top of the pay scale along with athletes. And I always told you that that's my opinion. And I'm glad you brought that up because you shouldn't have to come out of pocket. And that's on a normal non-pandemic year. So now you got this. I don't know how they expect you guys to even manage that. And the emotional toll on teachers, students, family members that are going to have to deal with this is going to be really, really, really hard. Hasn't hit us yet. Could you touch on that a little bit?
I mean, even when I was, you were on my show, I always talk about communication and, parents talking to their children. Even now is more important that they communicate, effectively with their children, because the children are not used to being contained in, quarantine type style environments. And so, explanation of why we're going through the quarantine, explanation of what is COVID-19, and explanation of, if it happens to you, contracting it, what could happen, so children can understand. A lot of people don't, like to talk to their children, but children are more mature these days, and they can understand a lot more than what people, give them credit for. So I just believe in, having that constant communication with the kids and also with the parents. They're trapped too. They're quarantined, and parents, you guys need people to talk to, and it's okay if you reach out to mental health professionals. I myself am a mental health professional. I have a
Exactly.
wide caseload. I have adults, I have children, I have men, I have women, I have people from all walks of life. And so it's good to just express yourself and get what you need off your chest, because bottling it up and containing it is not good. So talking to someone is good. And I think parents should create play dates with children, not necessarily physical play dates, but create a Zoom where the child can interact with other children outside of the household. And I think that would be great for them as well. But having a constant flow of communication is very key.
Yeah, and you're right because you make some really great points, and obviously I'm going to have you back on the show many times. Again, we're here with Dr. Tawana Anthony on ibm.tv, Funk from the Front Seat, and hello to everybody out there. We're blessed to have you, Doctor. And you brought up some really interesting points about how the communication, especially junior high, high school, elementary, as far as just interacting, because that's a big part of it. As you know, you would know better than I. Junior high school, and my one daughter's 12. My other one's 16, but I think about my 12-year-old more because she's just starting to learn how to interact on that next level as a young woman. And you know, we talk all the time. And like you, you know me, I've always communicated with my daughters as best I can, understanding the situation. My daughters are like, yeah, we know what's happening to everybody. They kind of like you mentioned, they're resilient. They're resilient, you know, and I applaud my daughters for that. And you know, educators like yourself, I can't continue to say how grateful we are on this planet to have people like you. Now, as the kids have been home and they now see the Black Lives Matter movement here and there on TV or in the households or whatever, right? Do you think that's going to have a dramatic effect, or are they just going to put it and say, check it off, it's a sign of the times?
I don't think
That's
it's
what I'm
a sign of. Yeah, I don't think it's a sign of the times. I think it's already having a dramatic effect because if you take let's back it up and look at George Floyd, okay?
Yeah.
So Black Lives Matter has always been out there. It's been out there since, you know, Trayvon Martin, Breonna Taylor, the young man who was killed in New York. I can't remember all their names, but it's been out there. You know what I'm saying? But the difference between now and then is we saw a man die in real time on TV, on you know, basically TV, YouTube, internet. We saw that. And for somebody to sit there and see that and it not have an emotional effect on them, then something is wrong. So I think with, you know, witnessing how George Floyd died and seeing how there was no real emotion coming from the police officer when he could have taken his knee off his neck, people felt that. And so now they're saying, okay, I understand. I see now what the Black community has always stated. I see now what people are saying. Because before, it was their word against his. You know, oh, I fear for my life because I thought he had a gun. I fear for my life. And that's the cop-out that they use. Oh, I fear for my life. No, you didn't fear for your life. You wanted to kill a Black person. You've always wanted to kill a Black person. So I think now it's, you know, it's greater than a movement. It's you know, it's a process that, you know, is going to be, you know, happening for years to come, because now you can't deny that Black people are being murdered on a everyday basis. Even after George Floyd, there were 5 Black people who were hung that they claimed was suicide. Now you and I know Black people don't jump out of no trees and hang themselves. If they're going to kill themselves, it's not going to be through no hanging. So we have to, you know, we have to have those tough conversations in order to make people feel uncomfortable, in order for the change to take place. I'm gonna mute myself for a little bit. Can you hear the train in the background?
Yeah, not really, but it's all good. We going live. We good.
Okay, but you know, I'm saying people now are seeing, you know, people murder us in real time. So I think the whole George Floyd thing, you know, just really pushed people to the edge. They were already feeling, you know, contained, and, you know, we can't do anything about this quarantine. And so when the protests happened, okay, this is my way to speak. This is my way to step up. This is my way to contribute. And so now, like I said, they are seeing what we've been saying the whole time, that, you know, we're being murdered for no reason. So, and I think that had an emotional effect on, you know, a lot of people. And I think that's why, you know, we're gaining momentum, and it's bigger than the movement now.
Yeah, you're right. And thank goodness, because I told people, listen, this has always been going on. Like you just mentioned, it's just now we got cameras and everything to see it. This is nothing new for the Black community to be treated like this. I told, and I actually never really told this story before, but I did post it on Facebook about 3 weeks ago. And I was talking about my experience in New York. And everybody thinks because it's New York, you know, things don't happen. I said, listen, I live 5 blocks away from Abner Louima when the police arrested that man and shoved the baton in his parts, all right, in the jail. They all laughed about it, right? They ruptured him. He almost bled to death. They ruined his insides. And then, right, the police on Staten Island surrounded the cop, Volpe, and he was charged later on with protection around his house. And I was like, okay, you got 12 cops protecting this man's house. But where were those 12 cops when this man was getting abused in his jail cell? You know what I mean? And I also lived down the street in Staten Island, 3 blocks away from the gentleman that they choked to death that was selling Lucy cigarettes. That was my neighborhood. That was my neighborhood. Now, we protested and we went off on that. You know what I mean? Because he had been doing that, and people don't notice. The store owner had let him do that for like years. That's what he did. He would go buy a pack, then sell them Lucy on the side of the store. For some reason, the cops were just fed up and wanted to abuse and murder somebody. Now, those are just 2 instances, right? And New York is loaded with them. And when Black Lives movement actually took off because of the angel George Floyd, I was glad to tell these stories because finally, you know, a voice for Abner Louima and the gentleman that got killed, there was a voice, a national movement voice. And I was so grateful because we protested a lot in New York for everything that could possibly be related to the killing of young Black men and women. And now it has always been happening. We got to figure out politically, and Kim, one of the producers of this show, and you'll meet her, was talking about this. We were both talking about this, about how to get our actions into laws. What would you say would be our best bet to get our actions into law?
By a politician. No, I'm just joking.
Right.
But basically, I think you need to start at the local level.
Yep.
A lot of people don't know this, but your local politicians has a lot to do with what happens locally. So you start at the localized level, move to the state, then you move to the national. So start with your mayor, your governor, your senators, your congressmen, and put those people in place. Hold those people accountable, because a lot has taken place where these people are not being held accountable. We need to hold those people accountable. Just because they, ran for office and they said that they were going to do something, we need to make sure that they're doing what they say that they're going to do. Because a lot of times, a lot of people buy the Black vote, but they don't support the Black vote, if you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They'll go
That's
and say what they need to say to get the Black vote, but then when they get in office, it's something totally different. So no, we need to start stepping up, holding these people accountable, and making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. For example, Trump said a lot of things that he said that he was going to do and has done basically nothing. So he needs to be held accountable. And when November 3rd comes, or November 11th, whatever the election day is, we need to put the pen to the paper and put Joe Biden in office so he can undo the wrongs that this man has done. We need to put politicians in the office that we know are going to support the movements, that we know they're going to support the change that we want to see politically. Is Joe Biden perfect? No. Is he better than the one we have? Yes. Did he support the crime bill? Yes. They all supported the crime bill. Bernie Sanders, all of them supported the crime bill. Was the crime bill perfect? No, the crime bill wasn't perfect. Did Hillary Clinton call people super predators? Yes, she did. She called the gangbangers who were recruiting young children super predators. And that's why I tell people they need to read instead of getting sound bites, from different, politicians and, different news stations and, things like that. You need to go and you need to read exactly what these people had put on paper. Yes, she did call those people that, but she was talking about the gangbangers. She was never talking about Black men in general. She was talking about those people who were soliciting our children to become gangbangers and, street thugs and things like that. You know what I'm saying? Because at one point when I was younger, when I was a little girl, I remember Chicago being so bad, DC being so bad, New Orleans being so bad, California being so bad that you couldn't even walk outside of your house wearing certain colors and you get popped, you get killed. So yes, they implemented that crime bill. Was it perfect? No. Did people get caught up? Yes. But at the same time, they cleaned up the neighborhoods. And, we're still dealing with a lot of, Black on Black crime, other things that we need to address in the community. But yes, we need to put people in place who we need to hold accountable that align with our vision and our mission of what we want to see happen. And so we need to start, like I said, start at their local level, move to the state, then move to the national. And we got it.
You know, this is just the first of many, because I'm going to have you on the show a lot, because no, for real. And I love you. You know, I loved you from the word go. You are an amazing, amazing critical thinker, given all your education. In addition to that, you can relate to all sides, right? And I'm so glad to hear you say that, because when people do not read and they just go by sound bites, they're programmed information. And you know how I feel about TV. They're programmed what the masses, the head people want them to think and hear and see and feel and taste and smell. And
the propaganda.
Yes, critical thinkers like yourselves are needed, because yes, the bill wasn't perfect, but we don't need a generation, again, a generation, Crips, Bloods, MCs, all of that. It's like ridiculous to keep perpetuating our own demise. You know, bad enough we got other races trying to hold us down, keep us down economically, whatever. People rise like you. You know, people are doing the music thing. They're doing, you know, political things. You know, yes, it took a long time, but we did get the first black president, the first black first lady. Those things were significant to somebody like me of my age, because my father never got to see that, you know. And like you said, you know, nothing's going to be perfect, but the crime bill did help inner city neighborhoods, suburbs, and it was a good thing. And I agree with you 100%. I just wish people would critically think about things as they get the information. Let me ask you a side question. Did you ever think about getting into politics? Because I got to tell you, I'd vote for you.
Well,
got my vote.
You know, I'm a little dominant, so you know, me being in politics I don't think I would fare well with politics. You know, politics and being around politicians, because I don't bite my tongue, and so you know, I'm very straightforward, and I tell people what I think and what I feel. And
yes,
you know, being a politician, you basically have to play the game, and I don't play games very well. I'm a straight shooter. If I'm coming for you, I want you to know that I'm coming for you. If I don't like you, I'm gonna let you know that I don't like you. I'm not gonna play no games, and I'm not gonna be hee and ha ha and playing in your face like I do like you. So no, you know, politics is not for me. But I will support, you know, a politician if I feel that they are, you know, aligned with my goals and my vision and where I want to see things go. I will support and I will volunteer on their campaigns or whatever they have, you know, going on. And I have done that. But as far as myself being in politics, no, I'm not the one.
Yeah, I feel you. I know, like I said, because you're kicking it straight for everybody around the world, and this is going around the world. And I'm so glad, because this is exactly what IBM.TV is about, promoting the truth, the real. I couldn't wait to have you on the show, because I know what you're about. I know how you're going to come, and that's what I like about you. I fell in love with that the first time I saw you. I was like, this woman is like, you're a star amongst the stars, and your insight is insightful to those that may not really get it, you know. And now they can like look on our show and see, well, wow, this woman came on, and you know, she's got so many things in her pockets, but she still can relate to me, and then you can relate to kings and queens, you know. And that to me is a special quality. It's rare. That's why I'm so glad you're my friend, and I'm so glad you're in my life. And getting back to politics, the elephant in the room, obviously, you know, the vote, you know, we need people to turn out like Barack and Michelle are running. That's what I keep telling people. I volunteer downtown Durham. I take people for $1 back and forth. They only got to give me $1, and I take them to vote, hand out things, because I'm trying to do my little part in my community. And I really do want change. Obviously, you know, we have to start at the local level. But
the first thing people need to do is get registered to vote.
Yes.
You have no voice until you get registered to vote. And even those who are saying that your vote don't count, that's a lie. You know, your vote is your most precious commodity, and people need to understand that they're redistricting, you know, their zones so that they make sure that Republicans win. And you know, the gerrymandering and, you know, all this stuff that's going on. they're trying to cheat their way back into the office. So, people need to understand that their vote matters, that their vote count. Um, Voter suppression is key in Republican red states. We saw it with the what's his name, Kemp and Stacey Abrams. And people need to understand that their vote counts. Even if they do shut down your poll, you stand in that line and you vote. You make your vote count. You make your voice heard. Because the only way that we're going to get rid of these people is we have to vote them out. And they know that they're the minority and we're the majority. So they're trying to keep us down at every cost with not voting. And people got to understand that their vote matters. So everyone needs to get out, get registered to vote. Learn what you're supposed to learn about your, different branches of government. This was taught in school. Don't say it wasn't taught. Just say I was talking and I wasn't paying attention that day.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because it was taught in school. We learned it in school. And if you don't learn it, it's online. Look it up.
Oh, I love it.
Google it. Learn, read about it, and read about what these people are talking about on their platforms. Understand what they're saying that they're going to do. Because they'll lie to you in your face and say X, Y, and Z, and then switch it up, code switch it at the end of the day. So, you gotta do your homework. You gotta do your research. Don't just, rely on the news, because media is like propaganda. That's how Hitler became, in power, and he was able to, kill all those people because of propaganda. Things that, certain people are trying to do now, with fake news. Fake this. Oh, everybody's lying on me. Somebody got to be telling the truth. You know what I'm saying? So you got to read. You got to understand. You got to research. Look all that stuff up.
Yep. People used to think I was crazy when I told them I didn't really want cable and stuff in my house all the time, and I didn't watch this and that. And even, that because I was like, well, I get what people are trying to say, but my eyes aren't never going to lie to me what I see. So you could tell me CNN said this. You could tell me Fox said this. I listen to BBC News, World News, and NBC and ABC and all this stuff, right? And I tell people, listen, get your hours worth and then get off. Because if you notice, they loop stuff and loop it and loop it. Mm-hmm. And before you realize it, the lie has become a reality because you watched it 8 times in a row, and it's psychological warfare. And I wish people would wake up to that, because there's always an agenda. We know that. Always an agenda. And people really need to wake up. I the very first show I did on Funk from the Front Seat, I give every show a title, was called The Veil Has Been Lifted. You know what I mean? Because like you said, we was taught this stuff. Right, wrong, or indifferent. We know. Nobody can't say they don't know. And now with COVID, they can't say, hey, I didn't know. You know what I mean? We have time to read now. We have time to research. And I tell people in my car, I was like, listen, research your candidate. Just don't vote for him because I say I'm voting. I already know because I've researched these people. And I'm going to choose the lesser of two evils, like my man Prince said. Biden, I know, is not a perfect human being, but Lord knows he's going to be better than what we got, because this guy, while we're watching this like a magician, he's stealing down here, and that's his whole con. 45 plays the long con, and I tell people that. I'm like, you got to understand the con. There's short cons and long cons. This man, he played the long con. He knew I didn't want to be president, but now that I'm here, I cheated my way in. I'm going to do whatever I got to do. Let's touch on something for a minute, which is very important. Black on black crime. Where, or not say where, but talking to young black men and women right now, what would you tell them that they can really get into their head that's genocide?
Well, I mean, as far as black on black crime to me is concerned, let's take Chicago, for example. They call it the white flight. You know what I'm saying? So when they removed all of the jobs out of, the cities and left basically the people there to just spend, it escalated in the crime. So I think, like education is key. Not saying that you have to go back to college to, get educated, but you can go and get, like job training And I think those things need to be made available, readily available to the community. And I keep up with Chicago a lot, and I see a lot of good things happening over there. They're starting to wake up and they're starting to see, yes, the crime is still bad over there, but at the same time, they have a lot of community focus going on also in Chicago. So I think they need to start with educating the people, providing some type of relief to them, some type of job training, some type of something where they can get out of that mindset of I have to rob, steal, and kill. Because I'm gonna use this example. If you take a caged dog and you leave that caged dog, caged for so long and not feed it, what is that dog gonna do when it escapes? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in a sense, the people of Chicago has been caged for so long.
Yeah.
That's all they know is to rob, steal, and kill. So we have to educate them, and we have to change their mindset, because the mindset is everything. Not only in Chicago, Freeport, New Orleans, Baltimore, South Carolina, Columbia. We have to change the mindset of the people, because that's all they know. So with people with that's all they know, we can hold them accountable, but at the same time, we can't hold them accountable. We have to hold ourselves accountable too, to reach back and pull those people forward and teach those people a different way.
Yes.
So not saying that I'm better than somebody, because when I die, it's going to be 6 feet under, just like the next person, 6 feet under, because I'm not. But at the same time, I'm a little more educated because I chose to go to school. So we have to educate those who are not termed, educated in terms of, societal means, to, get out the mindset that they're in and to think in a different way. So we have to show them through, education, through community programs, through community efforts. And like I said, I see a lot of that happen. So that's where I am with that.
Yeah, and I agree, because education is the key, and we gotta. What I try to do through music, and when I try to talk to a lot of young people down here in North Carolina and Durham, I say, listen, don't be ashamed because you are carrying a book and you don't want to carry a gun. I said, esteem is very important. And the young lady, and I think she was in Philly or maybe DC, I'm not sure. They jumped on her, black teenagers jumped a young black girl for her sneakers, right? Because she had worked hard and her family had rewarded her, and she was carrying books. And they treated her like that was very insignificant, like dirt. They beat her up. They were cowards. Guys jumped on a young girl. And I said, that's got to be the bottom line. That's as far as low as we could go, because the girl was simply trying to go to school. And people that
and it
do
goes
that,
back to the mindset.
yes, yes,
like people say, the elders, the OGs. So we need to reach out to those OGs and those elders to instill in, the young people that it's okay to go to school. It's okay to read. It's okay to do these things. Bill Cosby, a lot of people got upset with Bill Cosby when he made the statement about, people need to get up and work because you have generational family generational, living inside of the project. So people thought that he was talking down on them, but in actuality, he was basically telling you to get out of the projects, stop depending on government assistance, and start doing things for you and your family and build generational wealth instead of having generational poverty. You know what I'm saying? So in the same token, we have to change that mindset that school is okay. School is cool. School is fun. School is, where it's at, instead of, a child walking down the street trying to go to school getting beat up. That's unacceptable.
Yep.
Unacceptable.
Yep. That's right. And it is a mindset. And I'm glad you said that, because a lot of the older OGs and elders, they just have thrown their hands up. But I tell people, listen, if I could help one person, that's why I'm grateful I have this platform. If I could help one person, you never know that ripple effect where that's going to go. And every now and then, I see the gangs, the thugs. I know who they are because I'm from the street. I know. And I try to talk to them. I've been to about 5 protests down here. And I saw the people that were trying to do as best they could. And I had my mask. I was social distancing. And then I talked to some people that were just there. And I could tell as soon as it was going to get dark, they were going to try to start trouble. And I talked to them. I said, listen, I know you're angry, but you have to channel that. I said, channel that. Don't use it just for more destruction. I said, we're already caught in the rat race, like Bob Marley said. So we have to figure out a way to, I don't want to say dumb it down, but dumb down the white noise, and not white meaning white people, just the outside influences. Everybody likes music. Everybody likes entertainment, sports, this and that or whatever. But COVID has taught us we can live without some of those things.
Yeah,
you know?
we can. And to piggyback on what you said, anger is okay. You can feel anger, but it's how you use that anger is determinant of the outcome. You know, I get angry all the time. I go back and forth with people all the time. I have a conversation with one of my friends who happens to be a white attorney all the time. And he and I, you know, express our different views and, you know, our different viewpoints, but we can have those conversations without, you know, expressing anger and, you know, putting our hands on each other and things like that. We can communicate like that. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to show your emotions, but do it in a way that is, you know, comfortable, you know, for each party, not some way that is, you know, destructive and, you know, threatening, you know, but you can show your emotions. You can do all of that, because my thing is, you don't need to have it bottled up. Show your emotions, but do it in a way that, you know, like I said, that's not destructive, that's not harmful to anybody else, but you just releasing what you feel.
Yeah. And you know, that's where we are now, because I know obviously my band can't play and we're trying to figure all out this music stuff or whatever, right? And again, I've been blessed today to have, you know, Dr. Tawana Anthony on the show, Funk from the Front on ibm.tv, and this is just the first of many interviews I'm going to do with her, because your voice to me is so very, very important. You're an amazing person, and what you said is about the critical thinking. It's okay to be angry. And you're in mental health, you know, you're you know, a professional in that area, and that's a normal thing. If we didn't feel anger, then, like you said, I'd be worried. You know what I mean? How could you watch something happen and not feel anything? But the gun laws and the gun lobbyists and the thugs and the crooks, I know as a person that grew up in a non-gun state, New York, I always knew the criminals were going to have guns no matter what I did. I just didn't want to own one. I didn't want to join a gang. It was my personal choice. People used to say, oh, you're this or that, whatever. But I knew in my mind, I was like, but destruction, you know, that can't really be. And I grew up in church like every young black person. On Sunday, you know, couldn't find any black people in our back then, in my generation. Everybody was in church, you know. And I'm so glad, even though I'm not pro or con on guns, because I understand why people have one. I'm not saying don't protect yourself. I just know for me, I was like, why would I want to go out and purposely harm someone that hasn't done anything to me? And that's something that I'm going to fight hard for. I'm trying to become an advocate down here. And I started it when I lived in Virginia, and it was called Watchdogs. And I was in that program. It's a national program, Dads of Great Students. And I was in my daughter's schools, going there once a month. You patrol, you sit down, talk with people. I tried to do it here. I couldn't get any dads to really do that. And I said, this is how we got to do it, student by student. If you help one, you're going to help all.
Well,
as you know.
You know, at the end of the day, you know, I'm going to just say it to you like this. My brother has a collection of guns. I personally don't own a gun. My other brother has one. My sister has one. Have we killed anybody? No. Because at the end of the day, guns don't kill people. People kill people. You know what I'm saying? So you can have a gun, and, you know, you could be a law-abiding citizen. But at the end of the day, you don't have to fire that gun. That's just like cars. Cars don't drive themselves. People drive those cars. You know what I'm saying? So people got to understand, there should be checks, mental health checks. If you're a person who's suffering from, you know, some type of mental illness, you should not own a gun. And that's just the way it is. Other people, okay, you own your gun. You have self-control. A person who's suffering from mental illness, you may not have self-control. You know what I'm saying? So you may not be the one to, you know, own a gun. That's just like when you said, Dr. Anthony, are you going to go into politics? I know I'm not the type of person to go into politics. So I know I'm not going to put myself in that situation. So we have to understand where we are in the place that we fall into. So we basically have to stay in our lanes. So I know my lane that I need to stay in, and people need to understand those things about themselves as well. If you know that you're not the type of person that needs a gun, you shouldn't go out and buy a gun. You know what I'm saying? So we have to self-check. at some point, self-check. You don't have to have a gun just because somebody else has a gun. Because at the end of the day, like I said, guns don't kill people. People who utilize the gun kill people. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. It's a tool, and I agree with you 100% because I know plenty. Like I have nieces and nephews that's in the military. They have guns. My brother-in-law had a shotgun. My dad came up from Georgia. Always shotgun was in his closet. My mother kept a 22 under her seat. You know, she was a bad woman. You know what I'm saying? And I personally would look at it, put it back. I never touched it. I didn't end up shooting nobody or shooting myself because I knew it was a tool. And even now, you know, I'm able to get a handgun if I want. You know, I could get a carry license permit if I want. And if I do, I'm going to be a responsible gun owner. And I tell people, don't be mad at the responsible gun owner, man or woman, because they're not the ones that's actually, unless something happens mentally with them, they're not the target for, you know, all the protests against handguns. You know, do I want some kid to go shoot up a school? God, no. Do I want some kid to go shoot up a movie theater? God, no. But there's a deeper problem, you know, than just a gun when it comes to things like that happen. And I'm glad you brought that up. You're very insightful, and I knew you would be because you're just brilliant. I told you that from day one. You have a gift, and I'm so glad you're sharing that with the ibm.tv family. Again, here we are live, Funk from the Front Seat with Dr. Tawana Anthony. And now we're going to, you know, close in a bit, but I just want your advice, and it's not for me personally, to the world, given all the things that we've talked about. What is it that, or not what is it, but where do you see our future? I'm going to just say within the next 6 months to a year. Where do you see us at?
It's going to be bleak. And I'm only saying this because people are not social distancing and people are not following the rules. We need to shut everything down and put a pause on everything. That's the only way that we're going to get ourselves out of this mess that we're in. If we keep going down the road, the trajectory for us is not going to be great. We're going to lose a lot of people that we shouldn't be losing because people are not social distancing. People are not listening to, you know, the scientists, and they're not taking this real. So, you know, I was watching, for example, the other day I was watching The View, and Meghan McCain was like, she doesn't agree with Dr. Fauci. And I was like, what? I was taken aback. I'm like, you don't agree with Dr. Fauci? This man was #1 in his class. The top, you know, the top allergy specialist in the world, and you don't agree with Dr. Fauci, and you're going to take Trump word over Dr. Fauci? So that's a problem for me there. So if these people are going to continue to listen to politicians instead of the scientists, our communities are not going to survive. And a lot of people in our communities are not going to survive. Like I said, Texas just stated that they're losing people every 15 minutes. One person dies in Texas every 15 minutes. So if we are going to get back on the right path, on the right trajectory, we need to do what the scientists are telling us to do.
That's right. That's right. And again, that's a great way to close the show. And I just want to let people know this has been Dr. Tawana Anthony live. You know, Funk from the Front Seat. Next time you come on, we're going to talk about your books. She's an author, an educator, a mental health specialist. This woman, tell us how they can contact you if anybody ever needs to get you. What are your social media outlets?
It's actually Tawana Deshawn for Instagram and Twitter. And my email is tawana.anthony@gmail.com. And I have my website, Beauty and Brains. You can look that up. And I'm always available.
Yeah, you are. And there's never been a time where I didn't reach out and text you where you didn't get back to me just to say hello, whatever. And you're gracious to me. Number one, you know I love you. I'm your biggest fan. You know, and everything about you says positivity and future. That's why I needed to have you on the show, especially in the times that we're going. And it was kind of very refreshing to hear your views and points because America, India, Japan, China, Germany, everywhere that this show goes around the world needed to hear all those words that you said. And again, you know, it's amazing how just reaching out and touching people, you never know how that's going to touch and affect somebody else. And your positive effect on the world, Bravo. I tip my hat to you. Bravo, 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 bravo. So thank you once again, Dr. Anthony. And I'll be testing you soon. We try to get another date together. And best to you and your family. Hugs and kisses. You stay safe down there, okay?
Yeah, I will always.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Funk from the Front Seat live with Dr. Juana Anthony, one of my very, very good friends, doing her thing today. Don't forget, we got a brand new show coming up after this with my other friend Tish Oakley. She's going to take you through some things, Tai Chi and, you know, spiritual side of, you know, Reiki healing and stuff like that. So, again, everybody heard what Dr. Anthony said, and you guys need to take heed. Follow this woman. Understand what she's trying to tell you and teach us, because she actually is so spot on with everything that you do and say, as well as being extremely beautiful and talented and all that stuff, you know. So you know, it's amazing, and again, I'm grateful to you. You know, it's so cool. It's just so cool, and people in your circles, they're lucky to have you. They're lucky to have you. All I can say. I'm gonna leave you with some New Orleans dumpster funk. You know, some of my favorite funk bands down there. Funk from the Front Seat. We've been kicking it today. We hope y'all really enjoyed the show. ibm.tv on YouTube, Facebook Live. You can go back and get it. You know, we got another great show coming up after mine. Tish Oakley with her Reiki healing is going to get into some spiritual sides of life. So y'all just groove, have fun, be safe, wear your mask, hand sanitize, social distance. Funk from the Front Seat. There you go. Bye. How we roll. Thank you guys for tuning in. You've been amazing today. We had an amazing guest. It's been so good to talk to Dr. Anthony. I hadn't seen her since she invited me on her show up in DC. You know, Kurt's Comedy Chapel, and you know, I did that show twice, and you know, her and I were vibing on life, and I said, you know, I always wanted to do something like this with her. I learned a lot from that woman, you know, brilliant, and all the good things that go with that. And again, thank you to ibm.tv and all the producers and people that behind the scenes make this show go. You know, we got a lot of good things on this platform. You know, we speak a lot about education, which you just heard, a lot about, you know, mental illness and things of that nature. We have the dollar store. You go on the website on ibm.tv, click on the big green button, and you can order anything on there from glasses to face masks. You know, so we're going to support that. And Jim and Nick and everybody that's down with it, and Lynn, you know, make sure you hit that dollar store, big green button, ibm.tv. Funk from the Front Seat. So wrapping up, any birthdays or anniversaries or anything like that out there, know that we love you. Know that we care about you. Know that we want you to be safe and stay safe. Know that nothing's perfect in this life. Nothing's perfect in this world. We all have to go through something, okay? No matter what it is. There ain't a good man or woman out there that hasn't gone through something. Protect the ones you love. Protect your kids dearly. Help your neighbors. Be kind to one another. Please be kind to one another. I'm begging you, please. Love is the only way. Be kind. Like Dr. Anthony said, it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be upset. But please, let's just communicate. Let's use words that we all know how to use as opposed to violence, okay? Violence is only going to beget violence. Sometimes it's a necessary evil. But right now, we should be past that. I'm very big on stopping, and black on black crime. Yes, it's a catchphrase, but black people need to stop killing other black people. White people need to stop killing other white people. People in general, stop the killing. It's very important. Please, let's not hurt each other anymore. Just understand Carl Sagan's book, The Pale Blue Dot. If you look at Earth from space, you will see that we all are just a pale blue dot. How are you?
I'm so good. How are you doing?
I'm hanging in there. I'm hanging in there. It's so good to see you. And, you know, I'm going to definitely be digging on your show like I always do. So, you know, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
Uh,
I
you're an
always see your
amazing,
comments. You're always there. Thank you.
you're an amazing woman. And I'm following all the music that you're doing. Even though you don't see me comment, I'm listening. I'm paying attention. I'm hearing. I saw when you had your panel and you guys were talking about pop music and things of that nature. I'm on it. I'm paying attention. I got you.
You're so cool. You are so cool. Thank you so much for doing that. That is so kind. No, it's been real fun. So, and I love listening to your show as well. I was sitting backstage listening to your show. So it's wonderful to also be part of yours in a way.
Yes. Hey, we're going to do something together as soon as we can all kind of figure it out. You know, that's why we're in it. Okay. You do your
I'm
thing.
there.
I'll be right here getting you back.
Thank you. I'm there. You just let me know when and where. I'll put it in my diary.
You and me both. You and me both. I'm trying to work out some economic things here as far as getting my financial backing because I lost it all. We were actually getting ready to work with a company out of Georgia, and I'm not going to say the name, but when their thing kind of went under because of COVID, it put me back at square one as far as the economics and the support I needed for my mini tours. But I'm working, you know, with IBM and some other people, and I'm trying to get that money ready for 2021. So we can go out and do what we want. We can record together. So yes, and I got a few pop songs. I'm a funk head. I'm an old funk head, but I can write some pop music too. I can do that. I can. Because, you know, I played my whole life. I played behind Kim Sazi Records. I played behind her and Snow the Product. I played bass, you know, on their tour with another, you know, gentleman that's a hip hop artist. So, you know, I got my hands a little bit of everything.
That is so cool. No, we're doing this. We're gonna, as soon as I can travel, we're hooking up. We're gonna jam some music. We're gonna write some stuff. So I'm so excited. I'm so keen for that. So keen. Yeah.
Done.
Amazing.
I'll see you later.
Hi, Ankit.
That was a wonderful show, Zach, and I was watching it. I was directing 2 shows, and I told Alexandra that we are running 2 shows. I think she was confused, and I was also confused at what's going on.
It's okay, because you know what? The link that you first sent me, for some reason, it wouldn't let me load up, and then I ended up watching Kim and Mark, right? And the doctor.
And I was there, and I was on this link.
Yes, you kept saying it's time, and I'm like, but I'm here. I love it. You my brother, man. I love it.
And you know what happened? Basically, I was on this link 10 minutes before, and I was waiting. And then I started talking to the doctor, and then we were doing a conversation. And then I was like, what happened? I don't know. I mean, I think I have to start the show, but I don't have a car.
That's okay. You did good. You held it till I got on.
Yeah.
Dr. Anthony's one of my dear friends. She had a radio show up in Washington, D.C., and I went on it twice, you know, and she's very, very, very astute like yourself and everybody we have on this show. And that's why I want to do, you know, like just like her and Tish and these other intellectual guests that you see me bringing on. I'm so grateful to you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
You know what happened? Tish asked me, where is Zach? So I told her that Zach is on the other show. So she was like, but we are on ibmtv. I told her we are doing multiple shows now. So I mean, you never know. And you know, our superstar on ibmtv, she's right here. She's a superstar.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. She is. I told her.
She's a singer, she's a director, she's a producer, she's a creative head, and she's everything. And I think we need to take autograph because after some time, she doesn't have time, basically.
I know. She is a star. I know it when I see it. You know, that's what I told her over that. I'm not just saying it to say it. I know it when I see it. I've been around this business a long time. And I told her, I was watching the show. I didn't comment. I watched her show when they were all sitting there and they were doing their pop music thing and talking. So I was on it. Somebody had mentioned jazz. Why does jazz have 2 Z's? Remember that?
Yeah.
And I told her, I was like, jazz has 2 Z's because it's cool like that.
Yeah. Just cool like that. That's hilarious.
Like
but Alexander, you know that post-COVID, you'll be signing a lot of music albums in Hollywood. You know that?
Sorry, me?
Yeah. Alexandra, you will be signing a lot of Hollywood albums post-COVID.
Oh, here's fingers crossed, right? Fingers crossed. Here's her
No, you
thing.
won't believe. I'm talking to a lot of Hollywood producers, and we are working on something. And whenever we talk about someone, we always talk about Alexandra, and then we follow a lot of people. So you never know.
That's so kind. Thank you so much. That's really, really kind. Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful.
Cool.
So what are you
Ankit, do you want me
working
to
on?
hop onto the other show? I don't know what. Oh, sorry, Zach. Go. Sorry, Zach.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just saying, what is it? What new projects are you actually working on now?
Project wise, so I'm writing like a mad person. A whole lot of co-writes, like Zoom writes with guys overseas. I actually had a write today, and I was just finishing up a demo now. And so I'm doing a lot of that. And then obviously the show every week is like a big deal. That the Sunday show is quite a big deal for me. Leading up to it. And this week is quite a big one for me in my space, in my world. So I'm quite excited. We actually have we've got a singer-songwriter called Tony Arada who wrote The Dance that Garth Brooks sang. We've got a South African singer-songwriter, country singer-songwriter who is an up-and-coming huge star right now in South Africa. And we've got a venue called Railways Cafe, and they're here in South Africa, but they've been doing the most phenomenal things for their community throughout COVID. Just the most amazing things. So it's gonna be fun chatting to them about that. And then last but not least, I have the famous Bluebird Cafe from the TV show Nashville, from Nashville, Tennessee, the Bluebird Cafe on my show this Sunday.
That's wonderful.
So yeah, I'm really excited for tomorrow.
That's wonderful. And also, what I was wondering that if Zach can invite Alexandra sometime on your show, and then Alexandra can invite Zach, so that means that would be a good cross combination.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Ankit, do the connecting. You just connect us, please. Ankit, connect us, and I would love to be on your show. I want you to be on my show for sure.
Yeah.
We'll definitely make the dates work because you have so much to give, and being an artist, independent businesswoman, entrepreneur. I know about your parents managing you and all this other stuff. I kind of know your little bit of history, and you just keep doing what you're doing. There will always be people like me that's going to have your back, no matter what, because I'm still in the game, and I've been in it for a long time, and I'm still in the game, and I love when I see the next generation coming through, because that's what it is. Yeah. It was passed to me, and then when I see you, I'm like, I can tell my daughters that are 12 and 16, the music business is in good hands.
Yeah.
Wow, that just makes me well appreciated.
There is one more interesting thing. She did a song called "Typical Girl," which is a chart buster, and now she's working on a song called "Typical Man." So maybe
that's fair. That's fair. Ladies first. That is fair. You know what I mean? And I like the global aspect of what you do because here in America, we're a global network, and that's beautiful. And yes, ladies should be first. Like Erykah Badu wrote that song, "You Better Call Tyrone." You know what I mean? So, ladies first, ladies' choice.
But Alex, I'll tell you one more thing. I mean, you should get the trademark done for typical songs and do the series of typical songs for different people. That would be a great way to create
typical songs. I'm just a typical songwriter in a typical world. That's hilarious.
Obviously, we have the time. Let me ask you something, Alexandria. Here in America, a lot of people are starting to rent out drive-in movie theaters to do shows. The promoters don't have stages, and people can come by the carload, right? And a lot of the country music artists, because their particular states still have drive-ins. Are they doing stuff like that here?
Not at all. And I am so jealous because my second home is Tennessee, and it's I think down in the South. I mean, I've been to other parts of the States, but I feel like down in the South, it's very much still got that old school thing about it. So drive-ins are there, and you do have sort of open fields. You do have that feeling where there is that space to actually do that, and I think it's so fun. It's so incredible they can do that. But I wish they could do it here. I mean, I know that there are one or two movie drive-ins that aren't working anymore, that haven't been working for years, but they're just
Right.
sitting there because they're not good. The land isn't good enough to sell, you know. So I'm like, I would love somebody to do that, to like offer that, you know. It'd be so fun. It'd be so fun.
It would be.
But
The
you know what
first-
happened today is that in California, there was a concert happening in the morning, somewhere in California, a music concert which started at early morning 7 a.m. And that's
Yeah.
a driving concert. They are doing it at a parking lot with 1,000 cars can hold up, and they have a big stage, so people just put their car parking and then they can just enjoy the music concert. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's not
it's
that
such a good
you require
idea.
a driving space. You just need a good parking, big parking, and then some setup of the stage, and that's it.
Yep. It's very low overhead. And I told my booking agent, Heidi Wilkinson, because she's the one that books us. I said, Heidi, you have to, because we booked on festivals, right? But I said, Heidi, start looking into drive-in theaters. And when she got back to me, she said, well, all the country artists have already taken all of that. You know what I mean? They did it overnight, basically. But, you know,
Yeah.
God bless them. I'm happy they did it because at least people could go, they stay in their car. For millennials, it's brand new, so it's exciting. So it's a win-win. You know, concert promoters,
totally.
they don't even have to promote that because they say drive-in, everybody's like, hey, we're going to the drive-in. Who are we going to see? Doesn't matter. You know? So I'm glad. I'm glad. As an artist, I'm glad. You know, we always got to support the arts no matter where they come from. I'm disappointed down south. I'm from New York, so I talk to people, and they're starting to play a little bit on Long Island. Not a lot. But social interaction as an artist, musician, and you know this, Alexandria, and you do as well, Ankit, we have to have people around us.
Obviously.
That's what we draw from. We have to have it.
Yeah.
You know? I have to be able to go
It's that
touch
energy.
people in the audience. You know?
No, it's exactly, it's that energy that you feed off of. And I think I'm 24 years old. So I was born in the mid 90s, and I sort of experienced world before, you know, before techno, before everything became about computers and everything. And then my entire career has only been in this world. My entire music career has only been in this digital world. And I think it's a whole new space to be playing in, and it's a new skill to learn how to communicate, how to sing to your fans through a camera. It's a different skill. It's a different thing you've got to learn altogether. And but I'm still a storyteller. I still like to tell my stories. So to have that audience there to tell that story to, that listening audience, I miss that. I really do miss that. I miss that.
Yeah. You're right, because you know, and every generation has their thing. Like I was born obviously pre-MTV, but I remember MTV used to be music. It was
the biggest thing.
It was just music, you know, and then they turned it into this and that and everything else. And I remember thinking to myself, this is the beginning of the end, because once they and I'm all for crossing over, but they took the main thing that it was and tried to mess with it, and they ruined it, because then they lost fans like me. I wasn't interested in their shows as far as like who's doing what in those shows. I was interested in the music videos. Michael Jackson debuted, you know, Beat It on there. Prince debuted, you know, Little Red Corvette on there. All of those. I remember the song Hot for Teacher by Van Halen. All of this stuff debuted. David Bowie, you know, all of the music had suddenly went video before digital. And we as old school were like, okay, that's why you see I still got my videos out. The old, the new, I don't care, because I knew then I got to start video documenting the band, because that's where it was going. Prince was the first one to go digital with everything. He was a genius. He had a virtual tour in his house. He's the first one to tell Warner Brothers, listen, I want all my stuff digital. He was the one in this country. He was the one. And now that's like the norm. And I'm glad you're there to help people like me, and also to spread your, you know, message to the world, Alexandria. I love musicians. I love the family that we're in. It's a fraternity. You
It
know,
is.
I told people, and I used to teach at the School of Rock here. I taught drums and bass. I had young people. My youngest student was 7. My oldest student was like 22, 23. And I also taught adults. And I told them, listen, if the creator wanted everybody to do what we do, he would have made the stage bigger. You know what I'm saying? When you walk into a place and there's only 7 people up there and there's like 7,000 looking at you, that's where you're supposed to be. And I always told my students that this is a gift. Ankit has a gift. You have a gift. I have a gift. Kim has a gift. Gifts are to be given back. And that's what I love about you. That's what I love about you.
Yeah. I think that's so true because my thought on music is never that there's a balance between writing music that is for me, that is for my heart, for my soul, and then there's writing music that if there was the right mathematical equation to a hit, then that would be it. And then there's everything in between that you sort of, this is sort of the sweet spot over here. You don't want to be hitting here, you want to be hitting, you want to be hitting here. And to write music that's going to make people feel something, that's going to tell them what your heart is and who your heart is. And then for them to relate back to that and know that they can take that on as part of their story. Because I love the saying, we're writing soundtracks for people's childhoods. You're writing soundtracks for people's lives. That's what you're doing. I know the music that influenced me, and that is the soundtrack to my teenage years. That is the soundtrack to this phase of my life. And that is what we're doing. We're creating those soundtracks. So it's a big responsibility. It's a huge responsibility. And it's quite daunting sometimes. But it's so rewarding to see people respond. I remember one of the first times I sang one of my original songs on the guitar, nothing else. Like, it was me alone on this huge stage, and I was sitting, and there was all these young school kids between, I don't know, maybe 13 and then 17, just school kids. I mean, there must have been like 2,000 or 3,000 of them. I'm not lying, 2,000 or 3,000 kids sitting there, and I sang this song, just my song, on the guitar to them. And it was on a very special song. I told them the story, and I sang this, and they just got up and they just applauded at the end of the song. Like, they just got it. They got it. It was their song too. It was their song too. And I think that's amazing. It was no longer my song. It was now our song. Those are the moments you want to hold on to. Those moments are incredible.
I love that story. And I love the fact that you made it personal.
And let me play Alexandra's upcoming show on July 12th at EST, and let's see who is joining the show.
I ain't no typical girl. I ain't no typical girl. I ain't cheerleading while the boys they ball. I ain't no typical girl. I wanna be right there in the middle of it.
And that's what Zack, I was looking for. I still didn't get your MP3.
Okay, that works. I love that story that you said you made it personal and they felt like it was written for them. And that's a special gift that you have. Because when you can write words from your head, put it out there, and the idea starts here, and then it becomes reality, and people make it personal. Like, when I was growing up, one of my favorite groups was the Beatles, besides Hendrix. Because the Beatles, all together, they were geniuses, right? And their song, they felt, and I'm not talking about I Want to Hold Your Hand and Twist and Shout, because that was their introduction. I'm talking about when they got into, The Long and Winding Road and, Eleanor Rigby. That era, when they hit that era, they peaked, right? Wasn't long, but those songs used to make me cry. And that's what I knew I was going to be a musician, because it was so personal to hear them just say, do. And, Prince and Hendrix and, Parliament Funkadelic that I'm into, and Chaka Khan, one of my favorite singers, Erykah Badu, Earth, Wind & Fire. The genius that people have with music, and you have this, is to make it personal. That's why I love Adele. That's why I love Eminem. Because Eminem, he's controversial, but that man made it personal for me. Tupac. It was personal, And I'm just so glad to be in a fraternity. I can take a back seat to anybody and just listen and groove, because that's what I love about the thing we do. It's a blessing.
Yeah.
To share.
It's
really
definitely a blessing. It's definitely a gift. I totally agree with everything you're saying. Amen.
Yeah, thank you.
And Zach, who is joining us tomorrow on Funk Music with Zach at 12 noon
tomorrow, I got a gentleman, Saxy Rick, saxophone player, coming on Play Live with his tracks. I worked with him for many, many years in New York. He's my brother, my good friend. Saxy Rick, tomorrow, 12 o'clock on Funk Music with Zach. Don't want to miss it for all you sax players. And I got a special friend in Australia, Carmen, right? She loves saxophone. So I said, listen, Carmen, you know I love you, but I was hesitant about bringing a saxophone player on because you're going to push me to the curb. So she laughed about it. Yes. I got to be careful.
So
but
funny.
on the real, you know, he's a great saxophone player. He comes from that Kenny G school, you know, but he has his own thing. Yeah, he's really, really good. Talented. I worked with him in corporate bands in New York. We played everywhere, the Twin Towers. You know, we played at the White House. We've done a lot of stuff together.
Wow.
And his name is Rick, Saxy Rick. And he's coming on tomorrow, 12 o'clock. He's going to blow live for us, get a little insight. He served in the military. Well-rounded man. Awesome.
Absolutely amazing.
Wonderful. So we're looking forward to seeing Zach tomorrow at 12 noon. So it's time to wrap up, and I think you should just wrap up the show, and we'll go backstage.
I love you. Love you both. Love you.